Hi, everybody. This is day 1523. Wow, 1523 days since Richard was code redded. That's right. Code red, that's the military term for someone that is ordered by their superiors to be, ordered to be murdered, right? Ordered to be murdered. And is that outrageous for us to have that confirmation after 4 years of investigation and everything that has been exposed? I don't know. I don't think so. Let's see if I'm on so I can answer questions today because there's so much going on. See if it's all working. Looks like it's working. Yeah, there you go. Okay. So, good evening, everybody. 1,523 days since Richard was code redded. That's right. His authorities, his superiors ordered his murder. Um, and that is not outrageous for us to say that. We have so much evidence. We have so much evidence, and we've had to divide them into three categories. Hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities. And we've learned so much. It's such a great time to get involved right now. It's such a great time to get involved because there is uh, such an awakening, so much information coming out, and minds ready to absorb that information, right? It's like the hex is slowly being, I shouldn't say slowly. Right now, it's kind of like popping, pop, 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 like popcorn. The hex is released. It's kind of like in Sleeping Beauty. You've got the kiss, and all of a sudden, everybody's waking up. Um, the hex is definitely not working. It's just not working. And we see that in our comments and the information that's coming to us, the information coming from El Paso to us. More and more people are coming forward, and like in 2020, that they're shaking in their boots. Everyone's shaking their in fear, right? They're in, they're captured. Their feet, they were in the hex, right? The hex means witch in German. So spell, in the spell of it, um, in the hypnosis, right? In the tick, 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 and their eyes going like this, and they're shaking. And what was the hex? It was like criminal trafficking, right? Criminal trafficking. That's what the hex is, to allow hundreds of thousands of children to be kidnapped, to be housed in the emergency intake center, to be trafficked, right? To profit off of it, to abuse them, to use them, to abuse them some more, and now they're mostly dead. This is the hex. And, of course they're shaking. This is Fort Bliss. This is a military installation being used to do this, used to traffic. And it's not just the children, right? It's also the weapons and the equipment and the ammunition, and of course the drugs, the fentanyl. And they're using our military installation to do this. And so when you have superiors engaged in this, and they absolutely were, and it didn't stop there. I mean, you think that's the only violations? You think that's the only hex? Um, on Fort Bliss? No, there's also the fraud, the fraud, the fraud on our sons and daughters, the fraud. And, you know, I think 2020 proved the fraud, and 2021, and it was a horrible time. It was such a horrible time to try to get information because everybody was so afraid. I shouldn't say everybody, but a huge percentage. It was a whole different atmosphere. And, you know, we were told you got to put on a mask. And no, no. Um, we were told not to go to January 6th to hand out prayer candles and get into our capital, right? Where a lot of people were going to show up, reach a lot of people, a million people. It was really cold. It was really cold. We did it anyway. We did it anyway with our backpacks. We were handing out those prayer candles, letting everyone know about Richard. We handed out, I don't know how many flyers, it was worth it. And it was cold, and we got out of there around 3:30. But still we were retaliated against because then even leaving early, right? And having nothing to do with anything. And I can tell you right now we're so lied about that. That was a frame job. That was a setup job. But I mean, we had one of those superiors, right? Lieutenant General Donna Martin, who needs to be stripped from her uniform and arrested and stripped from those stars and any kind of benefits. She should have no benefits at all. Matter of fact, she should be tried for treason. And the big fat injection, lethal injection, should be on the table because of what she has done. But she contacted us the day before to tell us not to go. So, okay, what did she know? What did she know? And she was, of course, in charge of the Criminal Investigative Division. They lied to our faces. They misappropriated funds. They got together the task force, find Richard Halliday, without a uniform, and just, and we were so naive and we were so desperate for any help. See, they play on your desperation, right? They throw you out. They make you beg for help. And we did. We begged for help. Where's our son? And we knew it was bad because of the way they were, the irregularities, because of their irregularities. And there were so many. And we knew that was bad. But we didn't know, right? Well, you know, but you don't know. And that's why this time is so great, because right? You know that there is truth out there to be discovered, that you have been lied to by people that you've entrusted to be leaders, and they've lied to you. And look, all knees shall bow, and they are not going to bow to anybody but God, right? God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. That's it. And I think that's where this whole thing is going, because from the beginning, and I wish I could express how God's hand has been all over this, how he has given us hard evidence with his hands that, it's like with this Michael Garrett, the 4-star General Michael Garrett, the evidence that we received and we have, was such a gift from God. It was a moment in time that God just said, yep, here you go. Take a snapshot. Here you go. Piece it together. Piece it together, Team Fire and Richard Halliday. I've given you this snapshot. It wasn't meant to be given to you. It's kind of like the snapshot that revealed who Nadal Baim was. That was also a gift from God. Here you go. Here you go. And then all of a sudden we knew who he was, and they're like, "Oh, he's nobody. He's nobody. He's nobody." And then we find out who he is, and it's like, "What? He is somebody. He's somebody big." And then time goes by, and it's like, he's really big. I mean, he's really big. He connects everything together. He connects Lieutenant Colonel Bradford Bugado and all of that kind of fraud stuff. He connects the car, right? The Mercedes and all that kind of fraud stuff. He connects Fort Bliss and all that he connects James Hart, the father of Richard's platoon leader, Dallas Hart, who is the prime suspect in Richard's case. He connects the contracts in the city of El Paso. I mean, he connects the LLCs. He connects the border crossings. He connects so many things. He's really big. But they were lying to our face. So, the point that I'm trying to make is this is a great time to get involved, because there's so much truth to be learned, and there's so many people willing. There's a really amazing spirit right now. Of course, it's God's spirit, right? It's an amazing spirit, and so what I'm going to tell you, and I always get all on these little tangents, but what I was going to tell you about the January 6th and how we were retaliated against and we were kept from doing our live stream. And I had this little dream that if I just would put on the Task Force Find Richard Halliday shield that they gave me, to go to this meeting, I didn't want to wear a mask. I had my silk scarf, right? And if they really wanted me to cover my mouth, I'd cover it. I'll do it in a classy way. I don't want those filthy little masks. I'll take my silk scarf, right? And they didn't like that. They thought it looked foolish, whatever, whatever. I don't. So they gave me this shield, this plastic shield, right? I hated it because every time you speak, little spit would go on the shield. You'd have to clean it. It was just disgusting. Anyway, but it was like, oh, look, they mean it for evil, but God means it for good. And in my dream, God said, just put your shield on and you'll be able to do your live stream. And so February, right? February of, what was it? 2021, right? February 2021. You can see my live streams. I'm wearing this shield for like a month, right? Because I wasn't allowed to do my Facebook live streams. And I'd put the shield on and it would let me do it. and it was so amazing, and I'm like, oh wow, because the facial recognition, see, they had the AI before we had the AI. They do the facial recognition, right? And with that plastic shield going across, the facial recognition couldn't read my face. It's kind of like the Interpol picture that the CID turned in to do facial recognition. Here, Interpol, right? The International Police, right? Interpol. And in Fort Bliss, CID tampers with this picture, makes the facial recognition unreadable for Richard's face, right? and turns that in. That it's so funny. It's a joke because I knew Richard had been murdered. Who alerted me to all that? That was Chris Martin. Just for you to know, because Chris Martin is also a very big player in this. Much bigger than we ever thought. And we knew he was a big player, but he's even bigger. And so the information is coming in. Thank you so much, Danielle, for coming. Thank you, Dara. That's a first time. Thank you for coming in. Thank you, Danielle. And we're going to talk now about what's going on in El Paso. DC has descended on El Paso. There is so much going on in El Paso. Why? Because of this case. And, you know, I'm not at liberty to tell you who and what and everything going on just yet. But I can tell you this. It's never what you expect. It's never what you expect. And, you know, investigations and information that comes out can be really little things that make the whole house of cards fall. And I'll give you a little example. Like Delta Battery 143 is an important unit. It's different from 243 and 343 because 143 has fuel. Now, if you're engaged in trafficking, you need some fuel. Just to let you know. So the scheming, the HRC, the placement of this criminal network is in places where, you know, they're very important to make it all work. They're very important. So how DC has, that's why, you know, you've got to, what we have thought is we have to keep going and we have to look into every little nook and cranny, right? Climb every mountain, cross every stream, go down every highway. You know, you just have to look in every cranny, look for through all the different people that you know, are alerted to, and you know, don't take anything for granted. Don't throw your hands up in disgust or throw your hands up in just being overwhelmed because this case is so convoluted, right? It's so overwhelming. When you first start, you just can't believe it. And you just have to stay very focused. So you have to stay healthy. You have to stay healthy and you have to keep going. And the words that we are getting is really positive right now. And I want to tell you something else that happened today. So there's a public defender there in El Paso. And we wrote the public defender because of the situation with the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. You can call it the jail magistrate court. And right now it's operating illegally because the individuals that have been appointed judges have been unlawfully appointed judges because that is a very distinct court. It's nowhere else in Texas. It really, you know, we were kind of looking at some to see if there was some other courts like the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court, and there really aren't any. It's a very distinct court. Matter of fact, I think it's was ruled a distinct court, from what I understand. And the reason that that's important is because Richard was magistrated through that court and unlawfully put into jail through that court. And when we were looking, and of course, when you're magistrated through that court, those documents goes to the clerk of the court, the district clerk of the court, which is in the jail. So it's a jail magistrate court. The district clerk's office is in the jail, and there was a breach in security in that office that allowed access to a government computer to bring up Richard's case and allow somebody to take a photograph of the computer screen of Richard's file. And that was posted on social media. And they must have done it in haste because they did not expand the image that they wanted. So when they captured the screen, they also captured what was in the background. And that evidence, that information that is evidence now, has identified the computer as the district clerk's office computer. And that office is ran by Bernadette Medrano, Judge Sam Medrano's wife, who is in charge of the Walmart mass shooting. And he also had a huge hand in appointing, illegally appointing and unlawfully appointing judges to that court. And the more you find out about it, it's just like, well, that's a criminal network. I mean, if you want to protect your criminal network, your trafficking buddies, no matter what they are doing, from money laundering to the trafficking itself, the fraud, whatever, and they come through, they're magistrated, and you've appointed the judges, and you can say, hey, you got to let that guy go. Don't subpoena that phone. Don't subpoena that GPS, the GPS of that vehicle, okay? Because those judges have incredible power. Incredible power. And so, if you have them in your pocket, you're doing pretty good, right? But that's not the way that this country is supposed to work. And this is not the way that Texas is supposed to work. And this is a grace from God that we have the Texas Constitution. And the Constitution says, no way, no way. Those judges cannot be answered to some elitists or some group of judges or a criminal network or whatever for an appointment. They have to be scrutinized and answerable to the people of their county, and that is El Paso and the El Pasoans. The people have to elect these judges. They have to be loyal as much as they possibly can, because we're, of course, humans, to the people that they serve, to the people that they judge, to the people that they can put in jail, to the people that they can subpoena their GPS car information or their phone information or their bank accounts, or take away their children, or order them to have a mental health evaluation, or whatever. They have a huge power. And so the Texas Constitution, and this very distinct court that has full county-wide jurisdiction, and that's very important. When you look up the Texas Constitution, look it up. Full county-wide jurisdiction since 2015. So before then, they only had a partial jurisdiction. Teeny little piece they didn't have control over. But since 2015, they've had countywide jurisdiction, and since then, they have been operating unlawfully with appointed individuals impersonating judges. So, what does that mean? That means they're impersonating uh, government officials. That means they're depriving the people of El Paso from honest service. That's all the legal terminology there, and that absolutely has to be known by Judge Madrano. That's his job. He's a judge. He should know the law, right? He should know the law. And of course, being a judge, you absolutely know if you need to be appointed or you have to be elected and all the, the statement of officer and everything like that, which, you have to sign that statement of officer before you take the oath of office, because the statement of officer is your anti-bribery, the understanding of the ethics that you need to have before you assume this very important position, the role, the responsibilities that you have in that you're about to take an oath to, right? To assume that position. And so, just by God's hand and Team Find Richard Halliday, we have exposed that those right now it's five individuals that are impersonating government officials. They're impersonating judges, and that is really important because Patrick Crucius, the Walmart mass shooting case, was magistrated through that court, and Richard was magistrated through that court. And so their civil rights have been violated. Due process has been violated. The voting rights of the people of El Paso County have been violated, have been ignored, right? So they have tampered with election, and they've tampered with so many other things. And so when we have felt that it was our duty, learning this information, that we need to get busy, and it's taken us hours and hours and hours, and that's why we're putting in a lot of hours, y'all, to write, to find out who we need to write, and to write all of those that need to know that this court is operating illegally, to stop it. And of course, the judge's wife, Bernadette Madrano, we wrote her and we told her that anything that comes from these judges, any orders, any documents, any arraignments, she cannot process those because now she knows this needs to be looked at. So when you hear that DC has descended on El Paso, it's for very, very good reasons. And because a whole criminal justice system is totally gummed up right now. It is gummed up. Due process rights have been totally violated. The civil rights of so many defendants have been violated. And so where do you go with that? You go to the defender, what do you call her? Anyway, it was just in my mind and I forgot it. But anyway, the public defender. So you go to the public defender and you notify them. And so we notified that individual, and we got a very quick response. I mean, it was quick. With that, wow. So that things are happening. And with Judge Madrano, also clearly it's like circumstantial evidence, it's like irregularities. He was it yesterday or day before yesterday, I guess. He things are just coming together so quick. He set a date for the Walmart mass shooting, right? For Patrick Crusius. For when? January of 2026. You heard me right. Not 2025, 2026. What in the world is going on? He was supposed to set that date on October 31st, right? That's when he scheduled a hearing to set the trial date. And because of so many reasons, that are going on in El Paso, we feel that it shows, and it's our opinion, that he is feeling so much scrutiny and so much pressure that he had to set the date way more than a month earlier, right? Just he had to come out, he had to set the date, and that shows real weakness. Real weakness, which is a huge victory for us. Because whatever Bill Hicks did, whatever John Briggs did, whatever Justin Underwood did, whatever, his Judge Sam Medrano's job is to protect the rights of every defendant and the criminal justice system. As a judge, that is what he is supposed to do. And he allowed Patrick Crusius to be paraded around in jail attire, the orange and white striped attire, in chains, not just chains on his wrists, but around his waist, all the way down to his ankles, and put on a bulletproof vest, and allowed him to be paraded around like that. It almost looks like they're starving him. And now they're moving the start date of a trial date to January 26th. And we're told that by Christopher Morales came out, right? That his mother was shot twice in the chest and survived. And we know that the media sweetheart that was all over the media even got to meet with officials, got all this wonderful treatment. We know that he's a total criminal, right? And we are told that he was shot twice in the abdomen, right? And the problem with that is that the El Paso police said we cannot believe him, right? Because he was saying, he threw soda bottles at Patrick Crusius. But Patrick Crusius, when he surrendered himself to the Hispanic officer, right, at the intersection, was totally clean. It didn't even look like he had sweated anything. He wasn't nervous. He was so kind. He just put up his hands. He said, "Oh yeah, here I am. It's me." They didn't even read him his Miranda rights. They didn't even bag his hands. He was never a threat. But yet, and he looked much better then, right? A little bit more heavier weight, whatever. They didn't feel like he was a threat at all. And yet, the judge is allowing him to be paraded around before there is even a trial, which also tampers with the jury pool, right? It influences the jury pool. It's so illegal. It's so illegal. And he sets this date giving an excuse that Joe Spencer, the defense attorney, has millions of documents yet to look at of evidence, right? Yet, He fails to even mention that there was a federal case already, that Joe Spencer said, oh, yeah, there's enough evidence here that I have to plead my client guilty. So guilty, that I got to get him out of the death penalty. And the only way I can do that is plead him to about 1,000 years in prison. That's what he got, almost 1,000 years in prison at the Alcatraz of the Rockies. Judge Sam Medrano, who we're being told, quote, he's the most corrupt judge in El Paso history, close quote. And participated in the unlawful appointment of this panel of judges, and also the unlawful appointment of an ad litem in the Walmart mass shooting, Justin Underwood, who in our, research, there's all this public testimony and, of course, our open records and everything. We believe that he was appointed as ad litem in the Walmart case, which was illegal because he was appointed ad litem for a third party, which is not authorized, okay, to tamper with the case, to interfere with the case, to retaliate against a prime witness in our son's case, and to tamper with, to manipulate to have evidence manipulated and tampered with. So we've had to discover all of that. I'm not joking. We've been working hard and document it, figure out who to send all this to. And, so Judge Medrano's up to no good because he's the one that appointed them. And this is obstruction of justice. This is deprivation of honest service. This is impersonating government officials. But I think most important is him breaking his statement of officer, his ethical requirements to protect due process, to protect the civil rights of every defendant, to protect the legitimacy and the workings of the criminal judicial system. And he quote, he is the most corrupt judge in El Paso history, close quote. So he has an obligation, and he broke that obligation. And so even with knowing that, we wrote his wife, who runs the district clerk's office. And we have real problems with that office, but we wanted to just inform her that she's liable and she's also a participant if she continues to take anything from these unlawfully appointed judges that have to be elected. They have to be. And, why is that important? Well, because you would not have the criminal trafficking if you had elected judges. Okay, not this kind of level of criminal trafficking, not this kind of level of crime, be it anything, any kind of crime. You would not have that if you had a legitimate elected with elected judges, El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court. It handles like 90% of the cases, and they would serve the people. They would serve the people because they would be in the hands of the people, in the vote of the people, right? Vote means the laying on of hands, right? We're going to vote for you, right? We choose you. And to me, that's a sacrament. That's a sacrament to be able to uh, vote for somebody, right? It is necessary for the a healthy society, just like all the other sacraments. It is necessary for a healthy society for our salvation, right? A lot of people always think of, oh, it's just only for heaven, but we can have heaven in the future if we can't have heaven here, right? Because God is everywhere. And we can't enjoy heaven if we can't enjoy here. We can't be disciplined in heaven if we can't be disciplined here, right? So it has to be applicable. Applicable. Sorry, I can't say it. It gets so late. We're going to be burning midnight oil. Um, it has to apply to here as we apply it to heaven. And we say that in the Lord's Prayer, right? On earth as it is in heaven, right? On earth as it is in heaven. And so it's meant for here and now and for eternity. And that was a great lesson I learned years ago that has sustained our family through all of this. Because it's just been hell, y'all. It's just, we are so devastated by the murder of our son, the cover up, the retaliation that he had to suffer, right? The fear and the shaking around him. The fear and the shaking that was around him, that surrounded him. The crime and the fear and the shaking. And then the cover up by the highest ranking. It's devastating. And so to come this far and to see that the curtains are being opened and all this information is coming in, and the case is broken. I can tell you that right now. The case is broken. We have everything, and that's, I think, why they're descending on El Paso, why Judge Madrano looks so weak. He looks so weak because a strong judge, right? A strong judge would come out and say, look, I am going to, we can start choosing the jury in November and we'll have the trial in January, right? January, first thing, January 2025, right? We're not waiting anymore. That's, under pressure, that's what a strong judge would do. Like if he was a good judge, he would have already had it, right? Because he has witnesses that are waiting, right? Witnesses that were shot in the chest twice by an AK-47. So we're told, right? There is no shortage of witnesses. There is no shortage of hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, and irregularities. And what it shows, I can tell you this, because Glendon Oakley Jr. was found dead in his barracks in April of 2020. He was an eyewitness, right? An eyewitness. And another expert witness, FBI Cordero, he was just killed. He was just killed. And, I think that's shaking things up because he was an expert witness and he was the FBI field agent, right? I believe he was a field agent. Absolutely involved with the Walmart mass shooting case. And he was just killed. Just what, like a month ago. Um, so making this go longer is an act of violence, in my opinion, because it's putting the witnesses at risk. Because Richard also knew things about the Walmart mass shooting. I'm not saying he was an eyewitness. I don't know. But we have confirmation that he absolutely knew things about the Walmart mass shooting. So, I know it takes your breath away. But it's putting all the witnesses at risk by being such a weak judge and not getting this trial going, or just dismissing the trial altogether because it's a cash grab. It is so expensive, millions and millions of dollars to these lawyers. I think it's greed, so let's make it go on for 7 years. 7 years. That's a violation of a speedy trial. There's so many violations here. So you might, if, you might see there's lots of reasons why Judge Medrano should be arrested. A lot of these leaders. Um, so we'll see, but it's huge news. Um, One thing that happened today is Governor Abbott endorsed Bill Hicks. Um, Wowzer. But we went right to our pen and paper, right to the pen and paper, and to write him a letter because maybe this information is being kept from him. I don't know. But we wanted to uh, make sure that we do our duty and write him a letter. And I hope that all of you out there that feels, like, what can I do? What can I do? Start documenting and writing letters. Just write a letters asking questions. You don't have to report things. You can ask questions. Did you know this? This is what I'm hearing. What's going on? Because, they work for us. They work for us. And you're absolutely allowed to ask questions and say, why is a magistrate court unlawful in El Paso? And a lot of people out there, I hope, that, people are informing them that have had loved ones go through that magistrate court, that are being notified of this. Because if their case happened since 2015, then, they should be interested. They should be interested. So please share this information. It's really, really important. So we're focusing on making sure that everybody knows what we have exposed over and over and over again because Richard's case has broken. And now it's just driving the institutions that that we pay for, right? The institutions and the agencies that belong to us to do their duty and to get accountability. And so, like for a wrongful death suit, I don't even know if we need to go into a court at this point. I think we have so much. Um, they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. The only way they have a chance is if they cheat. If they cheat or do something really evil, right? Um, because it's a slam dunk. And I'm not just saying that. We've been doing this for 4 years. Anybody that's watched, I'm like, okay, we're not ready. We're not ready. We need to make sure that if we say this is a wrongful death suit, and of course the Declaration of Richard's death, his murder on Fort Bliss, because of all the paperwork that we have. Um, and it absolutely confirms that he was murdered on Fort Bliss. Um, that we have everything, you know, enough, that we have enough, that there's no question that it's I always would say, oh, we just have to have beyond a reasonable doubt. Well, we have way more than that. So, um, yes, Dallas Hart, Richard's platoon leader, is the prime suspect in Richard's murder. And of course, James Hart, who, had absolutely participated, Chris Martin, Lilani Hart, Tavita Nuso, he lost his badge. He was CID agent on Fort Bliss, involved in this code red premeditated capital murder of a whistleblower, young, beautiful soldier hero, Richard Halliday. Um, yeah, so, and of course, Richard's case is connected to the Walmart mass shooting, because of Justin Underwood proves that too in this latest draft of everything, or the letter that we sent out, um, because he was appointed by Judge Medrano, to be ad litem to Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia. And Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is not a witness. She's not a witness. She's a third party. So it's illegal. And she targeted our son and our investigation, our son's investigation. Why would she do that? And, so if you don't know who she is, it is Bliss Avenue, right? It is family member of Danae Katzen, Jonathan Ambrose, KTSM, connected to FitFam El Paso, connected to El Paso Matters, connected to El Paso Community Foundation, and an imposter widow who wants to, we have it confirmed, wants to collect, and did, tens of thousands of dollars from the El Paso Walmart mass shooting victims fund, from El Paso Community Foundation, who she has connections with. And there's more, because he was German, and Germans have a nice pension. It's just a lot of fraud. There's a lot of con artistry going on. Unlawful activity is really a criminal's art, right? And it's not pretty. And it hurts so many people. And in the Walmart mass shooting, it was just bloody. Terrible. So we need to know what happened. And we have a very, very weak and corrupt judge. Not my words. That's from El Paso. In Judge Medrano, that is engaging in official oppression by moving the trial date out to January 2026, making it it's going to be 7 years. People are getting older, and how do you remember things? And it's just such a violation of a speedy trial. It's a violation of, that means that Patrick Crucius, with a severe mental health condition and a lot of evidence surrounding that there's multiple shooters, um, is going to be sitting in isolation across from the El Paso courthouse for another, over a year. That's inhumane because his due process rights have been violated. And no matter how you feel about him, every defendant, their due process rights and civil rights need to be respected. Otherwise, we are just going to be one tyrannical country. And so, and I hope that everybody sees that all of the Lord's blessings to you and your family. Thank you, Justice for Innocent Richard Halliday. Thank you. He's a hero. He's an absolute hero. And you know why he's a hero? Because he just stood firm in what he knew was right. Just not being swayed by what was around him and saying, no, this is wrong, and turning it in and making phone calls, even being betrayed and seeing that betrayal, but still standing firm. It's really amazing. And even in weakness, you can stay. I remember hearing a story about Rwanda, um, from a minister there that was trying to build a church, and he was trying to get this one man to come to church, and he would come occasionally, but he the minister goes, I just didn't think he was that faithful and whatever. But when the violence started in Rwanda, it was that man that fought bravely. That man that the minister just thought, oh, yeah, he has a weak faith or whatever. That man that defended the Christians there against the machetes. And that man that was martyred, that died. And the minister survived, and he was like, you never know who's going to have that great faith just to take the stand. And that was a great that was a great lesson. So I want to thank Team Fund Richard Halliday, um, and pray for the agents and the authorities that have now descended on El Paso. Pray for El Paso. Pray for them. Pray that they do the right thing. Keep your eyes on them. Keep writing your letters. Keep sharing. We've got to stay very vigilant during this because I'm just telling you, I'm hearing, um, and one of the reasons why I'm hearing that there's a lot of action going on, and it's like with this P. Diddy case, because this is absolutely connected to P. Diddy, because P. Diddy was engaged in human trafficking, and it's all coming out. Um, and this is all, like they're not like, oh, this group is human trafficking and this group is, they're all connected. Okay, it's connected definitely to Arizona, definitely to California. We've made those connections. Even remember the phone call that we traced was one of them was traced to California, to Silicon Valley, Santa Clara, California. Um, they're all connected. And so this whole thing with P. Diddy, I think that they're doing it now, and this is just our opinion, and we kind of agree, together here when we talk about it, um, that they're trying to get control of the evidence. So they might not mean it for good. They might mean it for, CYS or CYA or whatever you call it, CYA. They might want it to just cover for themselves by getting control of the evidence. But because they see the change in regime coming, no matter who wins, there's going to be a huge change, right? They see it. And I think maybe because what's the whole criminal trafficking in El Paso is connected with all of that. Um, uh, that might be one of the reasons why they decided to act. Now I've had loads of people say, no, it's all your hundreds of letters. And I'm like, yeah, okay, we can that we can entertain ourselves to believe that, and we're not going to stop. We're going to keep on submitting and filing our hundreds of letters, and I hope that, and of course, it must have some impact, but absolutely. But I think that it's also it's a big machine, right? It's a big machine. It's an imperfect machine. It's our machine, and they are, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They needed to arrest him. Thank God that they did. And they need to arrest Ellis Hart. And they need to arrest Leilani Hart and James Hart and Chris Martin and the generals. And of course, Supervisory Director Nieto and the FBI there. Um, they need to arrest Bradford Bugado. They need to arrest, of course, Donna Martin. They need to arrest um, uh, however they handle the judges and the appointments and all of that. Um, and Bill Hicks, they need to arrest Bill Hicks, and and pray for Yvonne Rosales, because I think she has now the security that she needs to come forward, because you can't just assert your position without security, without law enforcement um, allies, right? So I think that that's starting. So pray for her, and I don't know, people that live in El Paso, please let me know. Give me a thumbs up if you feel something happening. If you feel like El Paso, um, if is there a chill in the air? Is Do you feel like a shaking is going on? Do you feel a lot of whispering? Do you hear a lot of whispering? Yeah, let me know. That would be corroborating the other information that we're hearing. So, thank you so much, Danielle, for coming on. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you, Yadira. I hope I pronounced your name right. Thank you, Anicia. Thank you, Marilyn, for all your prayers and your love. We love you. We don't tell you enough. We're so grateful. And yeah, I wish there's only so much time of the day. So, so thank you so much. And we will be back tomorrow, God willing. Thank you. Bye bye.